All right, today we're doing something, well, a little different. We're going to grade the future. Sounds ambitious, right? We're diving into Saudi Arabia's absolutely massive Giga projects, but we're looking at them through a totally new lens, a first-of-its-kind ESG report card.
Okay, let's just start with a number that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. 2 trillion rials. That's the mind-blowing price tag for these projects combined. I mean, we are talking about a scale of development that's almost unheard of, and it's all designed to literally reshape an entire nation.
But look, when you're dealing with promises this big, you have to ask the tough questions. Like, how on earth do you actually measure sustainability at this scale? How do you get past the glossy brochures and the marketing buzz to see what's really happening on the ground?
Okay, to answer that, we first need to know who the players are. So let's meet the projects. These 5 are basically the cornerstones of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030. And trust me, each one has its own super ambitious goal.
First up, you've got Red Sea Global. Their big thing is what they call regenerative tourism. And that's a pretty cool concept. It's not just about being sustainable, doing no harm. The idea is to actually make the local environment better, to leave it in a better state than when they started.
Then there's Diriyah Company. Their whole focus is on cultural heritage. They're taking this incredibly historic area and breathing new life into it, mixing that beautiful traditional architecture with the very latest in sustainable design. It's a really cool blend.
And of course, there's NEOM. You've probably heard of this one. It's been making headlines everywhere. I mean, this is basically science fiction becoming reality. We're talking futuristic cities, and the main event is that absolutely wild concept called the Line.
Next on our list is Qiddiya Investment Company. Their mission is something they call play-powered livability. So think of a massive project built entirely around entertainment, sports, and just a better quality of life.
And last but not least, we have ROSHN Group. Their goal is pretty straightforward but huge in scale, building livable communities for Saudis, with a big emphasis on creating a great quality of life for residents.
So there you have it, 5 huge, very different projects. The big question remains, how do we actually grade them? How do we hold them accountable? Well, this is where our new ESG report card comes into play. It's a tool specifically designed to cut through all the noise and measure what's really going on.
The official name for this is ESG Maturity Benchmarking. And what's really important to get is that this is not just a simple checklist. Think of it more like a full-on audit. It looks at how deeply those ESG principles, environmental, social, and governance, are woven into the very DNA of the organization, from the big picture strategy in the boardroom right down to what happens on the ground every single day.
So how does it work? Simple. It's a 30-point scorecard. And here's the kicker. It's all based on publicly available info. So no secret data. This is what they're telling the world. And it's perfectly balanced. 10 points for environmental, 10 for social, and 10 for governance. That way we get a really complete picture.
All right, the moment of truth. Let's get to the results. We're about to show you the first ever ESG maturity scores for these projects. You're going to see who's out in front and who's got some catching up to do. And here they are. Wow, okay. You can see a pretty clear split right off the bat. Red Sea Global and Diriyah, they're way out ahead in the advanced category. Then you've got NEOM and Qiddiya in the middle, in the developing tier, and ROSHN is currently at the emerging level. So the big takeaway here is pretty stark. Based on the information they're putting out there, there's a really big gap between the top performers and the rest.
Let's take a closer look at those leaders. Red Sea Global with the 25 and Diriyah with the 23, both out of 30. They've clearly set the bar high. But why? What exactly are they doing that the others aren't?
Well, for Red Sea Global, a huge piece of the puzzle is governance. Get this, they're the only project that's had its sustainability data independently verified by an outside company. That is a massive deal for credibility. It proves they're not just, grading their own homework. That really sets a new standard for the whole sector.
And what about Diriyah? One of their standout numbers is on the environmental side. They've managed to divert over 90% of their construction waste. I mean, think about that. That shows a really deep, boots-on-the-ground commitment. It's not just talk, it's action.
So when you see all the scores lined up like this, that performance gap just jumps out at you. It's a big leap from the emerging and developing projects up to those advanced leaders. But this isn't just about ranking them. It's really a roadmap. It shows exactly where the others need to focus their efforts.
Okay, so we know there's a gap. The next logical question is, what separates the leaders from the rest?
And more importantly, how can the others catch up? Let's break down the key things they need to do to close that gap.
The analysis boils it down to three main things. First, that external assurance, getting a third party to check your work, just like Red Sea Global did. Second, and this is a big one, is tackling something called Scope 3 emissions. Now, Scope 3 is tricky. It's not the pollution from your own buildings or vehicles. It's the emissions from your entire supply chain. Think about all the materials you buy, all the contractors you hire. It's huge, and it's often the biggest part of a project's carbon footprint. And number three, just being more open and transparent with your data.
So really, this lays out a super clear path forward. It's like leveling up in a game. To get from emerging to developing, you need to get your data verified. To get from developing to that top advanced tier, you've got to go all in on tracking and reporting those really tough but really important Scope 3 emissions.
Okay, but let's take a step back. Why does any of this even matter? I mean, who cares about a score on a report card? Well, this goes way beyond just getting a good grade. When there are literally trillions of reals at stake, the real-world consequences are absolutely massive.
Having a strong ESG score has a direct, real-world impact. We're talking about unlocking billions in green finance. It gives you a huge competitive edge on the world stage for tourism and investment. It helps you manage the enormous risks that come with projects this big. And you know what? Ultimately, it's a huge factor in defining whether Vision 2030 itself is seen as a success.
And yeah, let's talk about the money. Because solid, provable ESG performance isn't just some feel-good thing. It hits the bottom line, hard. It can actually get you better interest rates on loans. We're talking savings of 50 to 75 basis points. Now that might not sound like much, but when you're borrowing billions of reals, that translates into massive, massive savings.
And that really brings us to the final big picture question. As these incredible Giga projects literally build the future in front of our eyes, you have to wonder, is this it? Is having transparent data and verifiable proof of performance, the exact kind of stuff this report card measures, is that the real foundation we need to build a truly sustainable future?